Hello, and welcome to another edition of Medill Newsmakers. I'm your host, Alex Hines. There are about 3,000 Iraqi refugees living in the Chicago area, according to the Iraqi Mutual Aid Society. Since 2009, Iraq has been the leading country in refugees to the United States. Today's show will focus on the Iraqi population here in Chicago, the struggles they face to come to the U.S., and the challenges that arise when they get to the city. We will also look into a culture many Americans know little about. Joining me today in the studio is Anass Albayati, an immigration specialist for the Iraqi Mutual Aid Society, and Mohammed Hussein, former newsroom manager for the New York Times Baghdad. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, I wanted to get started by talking a little bit about how many Iraqi refugees come to the U.S. And specifically Chicago each year.
First of all, thank you so much for hosting us today. Eventually, starting from 2008, the United States started receiving Iraqi refugee, and there are 3 programs for receiving refugee. One of them is called the SIV, the Special Immigrant Visas, and the US RAP for the people who work indirectly with the US troops back there in Iraq, and then through the United Nations procedures. So starting from 2009 till now, over 30,000 Iraqi arrived to the United States nationwide, and Chicago took place for a very good amount of people. We are talking about 6,000 now who lived in Chicago area, it's in Illinois though. We expect that we will receive more Iraqi refugees for the next 2 years though.
So when you think about the process of coming to the United States, do most Iraqis leave directly and come to the U.S., or do they go to another Middle Eastern country first?
Definitely, yes. This is the lead me back to the first answer. As I told you, for the special immigrant visa, that people who work like translator with the U.S. troops back there in Iraq, so they can apply it from inside Iraq. Same as well as the U.S. RAP. People can stay in Iraq and they get written for themselves according to working with the United States troops, and then they can apply to get in the United States. For the third part, for the UNCHR, the United Nations, you have to leave Iraq to other country like close country, Turkey, Jordan, Syria, Egypt, any country around Iraq, and then you will apply for the United Nations procedures. Eventually it took a while, sometimes took up to 5 years to get approved to come to the United States.
Wow. And so why do you all think that a lot of Iraqi refugees come to the U.S. despite the fact that the U.S. started a war in Iraq?
I believe it's the safer place to go. It's not reflected that like about the invasion or about the U.S. was having war back in Iraq. It's about these people get threatened from extremist Islamic groups, so they used to leave their country and they're looking for a safer place. Eventually, the United States opened the doors for them to come to the United States.
Gotcha. So what about the students that are in university and they get the call saying, you know, you can come to the U.S. now? What happens if they're not done with their degree? What happens to them when they come to the U.S.?
It's a very good question. Most of the students, unfortunately, they will not be able to continue their education once they left Iraq. And the education system between Iraq and the United States is really different. Eventually, everything in Iraq is for free. The education is for free, so you don't need to pay for that. But when they arrive to the United States, they will face the American system, which they have to pay. They have to get loans for their education. Sometimes, and you know, there is a gap of language. Sometimes they are not very good English speaker. They can speak English, but not at the level of study there. So eventually they will like have the face the problem of the getting loan, getting financial aid, go back. Maybe we do have a lot of Iraqis who already have their degrees back from Iraq, and they will face another problem of evaluate their degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a comment of what he said. So even though that the education there, academic education in Iraq is free, but that you cannot choose whatever you want or willing to study. We do have a centralized system, and upon your final grade from high school, the system will steer you to whatever available space or seat in specific university. So you don't have any choices. You cannot choose whatever you want to study. While here, the opportunities are widely open. You can choose whatever you want to study. You can study the field that you like or you feel that you want to study it. Unlike Iraq, they don't have these, choices.
So a lot of people come here and they already have their degrees. A lot of people end up doing these survival jobs. Can you talk a little bit about that and how hard that is when you come to the U.S.?
I believe Mohammed can answer this question better.
Yes, as for me, I quit my last job in Iraq. I used to work as a newsroom manager. 2010, I arrived here. The economy was not in a really good shape at that time, so it was very tough for me to find a job, a surviving job. So I had to start from level 0 again as a team member. Then after that, I believe that when you want to do something and when you work hard and you have patience and passion to do something, you can achieve it eventually. Choices and opportunities are very great here, but you have to be, patient. You should work hard on yourself to get at the point that you'll be satisfied on it.
So it's definitely not an easy
No,
transition.
Absolutely.
It's not at all. As well as what Mohammed said right now, it is very hard to get a professional job. I'm an attorney back from Iraq, and I used to work like several years with the U.S. Army and the many American groups as a legal consultant or legal advisor for them. And when I came, I started working as a paralegal in a law firm downtown Chicago. I'm lucky to start working as a paralegal. I do know many of my friends or many Iraqis who start with like team member very from scratch. They start from scratch. However, you need to work hard to evaluate the degree, to get the other more good opportunities. So that's why the education is very important. Go back to study. That's what I did eventually. I went back to DePaul University. I got my master's degree after that from Loyola, and I'm working now in my field as an immigration specialist, which is within 4 years. I worked hard to get this point though.
That's great. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now we will hear a little bit more about a grassroots organization, the Iraqi Student Project. The project makes it possible for young Iraqis to receive an undergraduate education in the U.S. Here's the story of a young Iraqi who came to Loyola University through the project. Sarab Shada has Iraqi tea every day, even though she's far from home. She came to Loyola University 3 years ago through the Iraqi Student Project.
I oftentimes struggle saying if I'm an international student, if I'm a refugee, because I feel like I'm a little bit of both. That's my sister, my brother, myself.
Shada is an Iraqi Christian. She and her family lived in Baghdad during the war. Shada fled to Syria and applied for the Iraqi Student Project, which helps refugees finish their education. Experts say U.S. programs are often looking for students like Shada.
For Iraqi refugees, for example, we started a war in Iraq, and so we feel very obligated towards the refugees who are coming from there. So we have resettled refugees.
Despite being far from home, Shada still considers herself fortunate. She received a full ride to Loyola University, and her extra expenses are covered by the project.
Every time I'm stressing with finals, I think about the fact that the school has paid for me.
Shada is living off campus. She says her free time is filled with reading and watching TV shows, the same activities she did back home to learn English. Last summer, she returned to a school in Ankawa, Iraq, for an internship.
I worked as part of their summer program. They were trying to enhance the English, the English level of all the students.
The Iraqi Student Project requires Shada to return to Iraq after graduation so she can contribute to rebuilding communities there. In Edgewater, Alex Hines, Medill reports. If you're interested in helping fund a student's study, visit www.loyola.edu www.iraqistudentproject.org or visit the Iraqi Student Project Facebook page. Up next, I'll talk to one young Iraqi who says he doesn't plan to leave. Find out why and what he's doing to convince other young Iraqis to stay.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for the sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
11 years have passed since Saddam Hussein's regime fell. Now, young Iraqis are still trying to escape the country. I spoke to one young Iraqi, Ali al-Makhzoumi, who says if young Iraqis realize the richness of their heritage, it will give them a reason to stay. After growing up with war and dealing with so much loss, what made you stay in Iraq?
Because if I will leave, I think if I will leave and everybody leave in my age, I think no one will rebuild Iraq then. And I think Iraq need us to stay, to change its bad situation, to change every bad thing. And we are trying through our activities, through our what we are doing here. And I think it is because we stayed here, I think there is hope.
What makes Iraqi culture so special to you?
It's Mesopotamia, and you know Mesopotamia, it's like more than 5,000 years. So I think it's full of adventures, full of history, full of culture, full of stories to be told. So I think culture can unite us as Iraqis.
Why are Iraqis divided now?
Because they are hide behind their groups, their tribes, unfortunately. So I think with culture, with cultural activities, when we focus, when we talk about our history, about our values, about our heritage, that it still exists. We have many places. It is still from long time, still in Baghdad, in Babylon, in Ur, in all around Iraq, you know, even north of Iraq, in Iraqi Kurdistan, you can find many sites, many cultural places.
What are you doing to unite young Iraqis?
Organize interfaith harmony between religious activities. Like we visit the churches of Christians. Also, we visit the temples of Sabi and Mandayan, where these religious people, they are Iraqis since more than 5,000 years ago. I mean, they are from Mesopotamia time until now. They worship the God in their way. They have like some traditions and holy, what they say, practice. They practice their worship in their own holy way. So there is the temple. They have temple in Baghdad beside the river of Tigris. Also, we visited the Lalish temple of Yazidis. Also, Yazidis, they are a group of people, Iraqis, more than 2,500 years in the mountains up in Iraq, between Mosul and Duhok.
Why did you decide to put a library in a cafe?
I established the first public library and cafe in Baghdad because I want to promote the reading for young Iraqis. When they read, they will get more education, they will get more culture, they will know more about our country, Iraq, and then the other world. I mean, what's going on everywhere. So I think it will give them hope.
Can you explain why there is a need for these additional libraries?
All the public libraries in Iraq, it's belong to the government, and it closed at 1 p.m. So if I was like a student, I have to leave, or I have to skip my classes to go to public library. Or if I was employee, I have to leave my job to go to the public library. So it's not logical. The public library, it opens only from Sunday to Thursday and closes at 1 p.m. So, well, most of Iraqis, they have free time in the weekends, during the weekends. So they can't go to the public library because there's no one opens on weekends.
Up next, I will take a look into the ethnic and religious groups in Iraq and how those play into a person's social identity. Stay with us.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Welcome back. Since 2003, Americans have seen news coverage of the war in Iraq. Even though the war has ended, few Americans know much about the country, other than the explosions that are visible in the news media. In this segment, Anass Albayati and Mohammed Hussein are back to talk about Iraqi social identity. They will give us insight into the different religious and social groups: Arabs, Kurds, Assyrians, Turkmens, Muslims, both Sunni and Shia, and Christians. We will also delve into the misconceptions Iraqis and Americans have about one another. Welcome back.
Welcome.
So first of all, can you guys give me an idea about the different ethnic and religious groups in Iraq?
Yes, as for Iraq society, we do have a very colorful mesh of different ethnic group. We do, as you mentioned, there is Arab, Kurds, and we do have four religions. We do have Muslims, we do have Christians, and in addition to that, the Turkmen and other little minorities over there. And they lived together for thousands of years. After 2003, unfortunately, due to the political powers or Iraqi leaders, they fueled some bad intents or bad feelings due to the political struggle among the political parties or political power in Iraq. So whenever there is issue raised among those political parties, it will be taken, it reflects on the Iraqi street and the violence and all other issues.
And so how do these different ethnic and religious groups kind of play into someone's social identity?
So as Muhammad said exactly, like these people used to live for thousands of years together. And before 2003, Iraqis don't know their neighbors or next door even. If they are Christian, if they are Muslim, Sunni or Shi'i. I believe all of this stuff came with the new politician back there in Iraq, the new leaders, which is basically they are the government right now.
Thanks, you all. Let's take a quick look at just one piece of Iraqi culture, dance. Each ethnic group has its own form of dance that reflects its culture. Those are just a few examples of traditional Iraqi dances. So Anass, could you tell us a little bit about whether certain ethnic or religious groups come to the U.S. more often than others and why?
Absolutely. As an immigration specialist, outreach and immigration specialist with the Iraqi Mutual Aid Society, I used to meet most of the refugees that they resettled here in Chicago. But the thing, I left Iraq according to this sectarian division, and I'm from the generation who lived peacefully with all of ethnic groups, so I'm not feeling comfortable to ask people from which ethnicity you are, or where do you live back from Iraq, are you part of this party or this group, so I'm dealing with my people like Iraqis, just Iraqis.
And Mohammed, why did you decide to leave?
As for me, I left Iraq twice. The first time I left 2007. I used to work as a reporter for a Western newspaper. Then after a direct threat against me, I had to leave. I left to Syria. I lived around 16 months over there. Then back in 2008, when the surge of American groups, stabilized the security situation in Iraq, I went back. I started to work with the New York Times. Then in 2010, I had the opportunity, so that time I had to take my decision. Either I stay in Iraq under a permanent threat against me and my family, or leave everything back and come over here. So sometimes at your life, you are at the point you have to choose between two things. Either you stay under that huge amount of threats and intimidation, because back in Iraq, if you work as a journalist for a Western organization, most of the people will consider you as a spy or betrayal. And that's why I had to decide and to come over here, leave everything, my family, my parents, my job, my friends, and come over here just to have a peaceful life.
So that kind of leads into my next question. What type of different misconceptions do Iraqis have about Americans when they first come here?
Misconception, I think most of the Iraqi people who are planning to come over to United States, they think that they are coming to spend a retirement vacation here. So they expect that everything will be available whenever they request it. They don't think that they have to work to survive. They have to secure their basic needs by finding a job, study if they need to study. They have to accommodate themselves with this new society, where is many opportunities available here, a free country. People are always welcome, the newcomers or refugees. So that's why I think, the misconception is that point. They need to realize that they need to work on themselves, they need to study, they need to work to secure their life. It's not a vacation here, it's not a retirement here.
So additionally to that, I believe the high expectation that all the Iraqi refugees came with, it's make very big challenge. Like, people heard about United States from media, they listen to stories, they like it, but when they eventually coming here to United States and feel the real life here, it's very hard to live. And it's very hard to find a job. It's very hard to work on yourself, especially there is a huge problem with the language barrier. So the high expectation, people believe that once they will arrive to the United States, that's it, the government will give them anything, housing, all this stuff. Unfortunately, it's not the truth. They have to work hard on themselves.
And what about different aspects of American culture? Are there any misconceptions there that you get from the media before you come here?
What do you think?
As for me, I worked with American journalists for a while, so I did not realize or see any different of what I expected ahead.
So this is the thing, both of us from the Baghdad, from the capital of Iraq, which is very modern city. We do have social clubs, we do have everything. So I don't think there's a huge gap between the culture back here and there. People can do it, can handle it.
Okay. And do Americans have certain misconceptions about Iraqis that they don't necessarily know until they meet an Iraqi?
Sometimes yes, I would say yes, because most of the people that I met here, I'm talking not about the academic level, just normal people. They thought that over there in Iraq we do have camels, we live in tents, and it's only a desert. We don't have anything over there, while we were, almost not at the same level, but we do have, a modern life, and we do have a modern communication. We can see, we can watch TV, all the internet available. So it's not a really, very old community or very old country that has nothing.
And there is no camel back then. So it's exactly, basically that's what, it's not a lot of Americans knows about the Iraqi community, about Iraq. Sometimes I used to say that when I used to live back in Iraq, I live in more decent way than I'm living here in the United States. I have very big house back there with huge backyard, with everything. And when I arrived to the United States, I live in a small apartment, which is very basically to American to live there. But it's a huge gap. But unfortunately, the community here doesn't know more about the Iraqi, about the Iraq, about the country itself. It's located in the desert, but it's still we are a very modern country, as I explained. We do have social clubs, we are making networking, we do have private companies, driving cars, everything like here though.
Thank you all so much for being here. With the third election since the end of Saddam Hussein's rule, many Iraqis remain frustrated by the corruption throughout the country. Many are still fleeing the country daily, but some are choosing to stay and rebuild. That's all the time we have for this edition of Medill Newsmakers and our look into the lives of Iraqi refugees in the U.S. I'm your host, Alex Hines. Thanks for joining me.